Good evening, everybody. I think this might be my first evening live stream. I don't know. So, well, thank you, Ronnie. I appreciate that. So, why are we doing this Tuesday at 7 o'clock Arizona time? Well, because normally I do this stuff on the weekends. But this weekend, I had my head down, clawing a victory again in a battle against a two-page spread. The only two-page spread in DvsM 1979. It's a very complicated, visually dense scene. It's toward the end of the story. It's part of like the climax of the story. It took a long time for it to come together. I gave myself 2 weeks, 2 pages, 2 weeks to get it right. I feel like it's there. Nothing is ever final until it goes to print, but I feel like it's basically right. Like I might go and fine tune and nudge some things, but it's basically right. And anyway, I finished that, and that leaves me with 5 pages left to draw of DvsM 1979. Only 5 pages, which feels pretty good. The only thing that keeps it from feeling really, really good is that 5 pages is 5 weeks of drawing. Like, that's still a long time for, but 5, I'm concentrating on the 5 and not the weeks. The 5 is the better part of that. Anyway, but before I go any farther, we're continuing the tradition of 3 books from my library per DD's wish, request, whatever she threw out there. So here are the books that I pulled this time. So this is Tapambeni, I think is how you pronounce it. It's a book on petroglyphs. If you're not familiar with petroglyphs are, I'll show you one and you'll know exactly what a petroglyph is. You see these Native American art carvings into stone. So this is written by, in part, it's co-authored by Dr. Eckhart Malotki. Dr. Malotki was my professor up at NAU. He actually was my Latin professor. And he was intimidating. He's an old German guy, ran a pretty tight ship. His class was rough and thinned people out like crazy. But anyway, he had this weird thing. There's a reason I pulled this book. There's a kind of a funny story about this. He wanted, for whatever bizarre Dr. Malotki reason, to meet one-on-one with every student in his Latin class and kind of talk to them and get to know them and make little notes in his crazy journal about all the students that he had. I don't know why. So I went and met with him, and he said, "So, Mr. Hodges, what are you studying?" And I said, "I'm an anthropology major." And he's like, "What area of anthropology are you interested in?" And I said, "Archaeology." And he said, "Oh, very interesting. I myself am very into rock art." And I said, "You mean like album covers?" And he said, "No, petroglyphs." And I think about that, I don't know, at least once a month for the 20 years since. I don't know, because that's how, 25 years now. It's just one of those stupid little things, one of those embarrassing moments in your life that I just can't let go for some reason. But anyway, he co-wrote this book. He knew where all the petroglyph sites were in northern Arizona. A lot of them aren't on maps. It's like a weird speakeasy thing, and he went and photographed them. Pretty cool. Okay, that's that one. The next one, this showed up just recently. It was a Fantagraphics warehouse sale. Strange Suspense, the Steve Ditko Archives, Volume 1. This is over 200 pages of pre-Spider-Man, pre-Comics Code horror comics by Steve Ditko. I can't tell you, this is so my jam. I'm so excited about this. I love Steve Ditko anyway. But this kind of like garbage pulp comic stuff he did before he was, before all his Marvel stuff is a lot of fun for me. It is not particularly well drawn, not at all well colored. The content is trash. I love it. I love every bit of it. So there's that. And then finally, this showed up. This was a Kickstarter. The book, The Ultimate Guide to Rebuilding Civilization. This was a weird Kickstarter that somehow got recommended to me. And it is, mostly I got it because it was very illustrated. I'm going to find an example. But the concept here, it's kind of a funny concept, is all the things once civilization collapses, everything you need to know to get things running again. So, let's see here. How to make wine. And all the instructions are hand-drawn, which, well, I don't know if it's like traditional, but illustrated anyway. Reinforced concrete how-tos. How sail ships are put together and how they work. Just like all this random, I love it. It's a funny idea. Windmills, how windmills work. Kind of a fun idea. Anyway, Kickstarter was successful. They've been shipping the book. I hear some of them have had like damaged bindings. They might split a little bit when you're reading them. Kickstarter, what can you do? Okay, anyway. Those are my 3 books. Let's see here. We have a guest in the green room. He is well known amongst us. It looks like he's working hard. I'm assuming writing me a song about only having 5 pages left to draw of DvsM 1979. Well. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Yes.
Okay. I was just being quiet. Well, I don't think people really want to hear about your 5 pages. I think they'd rather hear about me. So if we could.
It's possible.
That's not narcissistic, right?
I
don't think it's narcissistic.
You don't. Yeah, right. So I guess.
Which makes sense.
What's new, Mr. Lujan?
Congratulations, Gary. I am super psyched. You did it, buddy. You're doing it, buddy. You're on the
doing it. Haven't done it. Doing it. But it's very much within reach.
You're the guy. I'm gonna use a sports analogy here. So hang on. You're the guy with the football, and you just open field, and nobody's behind you, and you're just holding the ball out, and you're doing the little shuffle dances. You're going to go in the end zone, but you don't see the defender coming from the side.
It's a little bit, which is possible. I gotta still stay on track. But I've already started. So of the 5 left, I've already started on 5th from last, and progress is good on it. So, and it has to be because I have that Comic-Con this weekend. I have that Comic-Con Saturday, the Arizona Comic Book Arts Festival.
Oh,
so I have to. I'll lose a different drawing.
Let me ask you this: what's the difficulty on? Like, think of the toughest thing that you've had to draw in this book.
Yes.
And then of the 5 pages that you have left, what's the difficulty 1 through 10? Like, if you're 10, you've already passed the 10, I think, right?
Okay, and 1 is the easiest.
One's the blank,
like
the beginning of the book.
Yeah. Well, let's look. At my.
Well, show us every page.
Well, I could show you this, but it's not going to tell you much because it's just my little scribbles. I think
Little Scribbles would be a better name than DvsM too, by the way.
It could be. Well, actually, one thing I was thinking of talking about tonight was the rebranding of DvsM, something we've been talking about. But I think the remaining pages, the one I'm working on now is actually fairly easy, and I think the next one is fairly easy. Both those I would put at like a 5. Mm-hmm. So that's not easy, but like kind of just normal. Just like nothing horrible. the third from the last, and the last one, I would put it like a 7. Like those are kind of just a little challenging, but not definitely nowhere near. All the most difficult stuff is behind me.
If I remember correctly, it's the funeral for that surprise death of your main characters, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to. No spoilers. We're not going to say if it's open cast.
No, it's the scene that shows the DvsM is actually going to become like a zombie thing too. So it's going to be, there's going to be, yeah, it's a whole, like, yeah, I'm going to try and do all the things that people like in this one, all of it. There's going to be a robot. There's going to be some naked women. Like, there's just all the things, we're going to check all the boxes. There's going to be a Jedi.
It was all a dream.
And then it was all a dream, right?
Yeah.
That's how the whole series ends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So you are 5 pages away.
Yes.
You're not to jinx, but do you have an ETA, a date?
If I'm on schedule, I should be starting drawing the last page March 18th. And so I should be done drawing the last page within a week of that. And then, so that's actually something I wanted to talk about tonight, because when we were talking about 5 pages left and 5 weeks of drawing left, it kind of just invites, when is it going to be done, available to buy, when are people going to be able to read it? I don't remember. I think we talked about this. I don't remember. I know I've had this conversation a couple times in the past few weeks. My original plan was to push to get pre-orders available by the end of March and try and get comics in the mail by like early or at latest mid-April. I realized, mostly from, I think, a little bit of talking with Christopher Runsman, but then also you, I think, that tripping over myself to get it out doesn't really serve anybody. Like, that's not, like, it's miserable for me. It might be a less polished final product. It's like, there's just no reason to do that, especially since I'm the boss and I can decide when it comes out and it doesn't really matter. Like, it's arbitrary, like picking the date when it comes out. So instead, I think I'm going to shoot for having it in people's hands end of April, somewhere in there, where to give myself a couple more weeks to breathe, to set it aside at least for a week when I'm done, to then give it a kind of a leisurely read through to see if there's anything that I need to tweak and edit and change and anything that I want to redraw. I think I want to pass it in front of a certain Jim Lujan to read over and kind of get an extra set of eyes on it. Like, and I just wanted more time for that to happen. I didn't want to feel like panicked of like, let's hurry up and get it done and submit the print order. Like, I just wanted to kind of, when it's done, it's done. When I feel good about it, it'll go to print, and whenever that is. So.
It's a little voice in the back of your head. In your case, it's a little clarinet in the back of your head.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a little voice that makes you worry. Like, should I get this out now? Should I get this out now? I think what you need to look at is, well, number one, I've always said this: are you having fun? I know it's a drag, but at times, but you want to make the whole process as enjoyable for you as possible, because you're an indie creator, and if you're not getting the millions of dollars, then if you're not having the fun, then you're losing twice.
So what are you doing? Yeah, why are you? Yeah, right, exactly.
You have to make the process fun, and I'm glad you're not putting that extra pressure on yourself, because there's no reason to. But
well, and something we've talked about a few times recently, like on the last Artcasters, and you and I have talked about, and I talked about with Christopher, was it's not often that I experience fun, like what I would describe as fun in this process. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's like, I don't know if I always need to be having fun, but I definitely need to be not miserable. Like that's a non-starter. Like, I need to at least feel like I'm enjoying it and it's satisfying. and that's where rushing to get it out, like that would definitely fall in the miserable camp.
Right.
Where yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really at this point, it's internal pressures. There's no real external pressure.
Right. Yeah.
Like Josh has external pressures because he has he's got
he has a publisher, but like, I mean, it's the same as with, I mean, you've probably been in this boat. I'm assuming like you set sort of aspirational dates for yourself when you're doing your thing.
Yeah.
When you get closer to it and you think like, ooh, that's going to be tight. Like, do you feel a little bit of like that, like that kind of icky feeling?
I think I felt that maybe 2 or 3 times that I can think of.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty good about estimating when I'll finish something. But I do remember coming to, like, I promised something, let's say December 1st or whatever, and it's like late November, and I would try to tell people like, look, I thought it was going to be this, but because of this, I'm gonna delay it a little bit. But what the key is just to not make it a habit. If you have a really good track record of promising a deliverable and delivering it, that's the other thing too. You don't want to be the creator that says, hey guys, DvsM is going to be out in April, and it doesn't come out until December,
and then it comes out in November. Yeah, that's not
people.
Yeah, ultimately, I'm only pushing, like I said, like a few weeks, couple weeks, and it'll be done on time. Like done being drawn on time. It's just like I just kind of want more room to, and then also I'm thinking more and more about. I think because I've been thinking more and more about first the trade, like bundling the first 3 together, which will be later this year. And then like, now that I'm at the halfway point, the whole complete series, putting something out that I feel good about, that I feel, not that it's like, oh, it's perfect and I'll never look at it and feel like, oh, I could have done that better now. That's impossible. Like, I think you should always look back at your old stuff and feel like, oh, I would have done that differently now. But at least at the time I put it out, that's as good as it could have been, and I feel good about it, And I think that's the other thing. It's like, until I feel that way, then I can't rush it,
Really quick, my friend Ozzy has a message for you. Okay?
Yes.
This is what Ozzy says about your book. He says, come on, Ozzy.
Ozzy, come on.
Ozzy. Okay,
Ozzy,
ready?
we're live.
Go, Ozzy. Go.
I don't want to spoil it for we're taking drugs. Drugs is for fools, man.
I could barely. You'll have to repeat what Ozzy said because it's very muffled.
The best part about Ozzy is that even when he says it clear,
who knows?
Sounds the same.
Who knows what he was saying?
Well, he's supposed to be saying, "Why would I take drugs? Drugs are for fools, man."
Yeah,
That's why I'm here, Gary.
Why would he? I don't believe he's ever had a drug, right?
I'm here to tell you not to take drugs and cats.
Yeah.
So,
anyway, the short version, if anyone's just tuning in, DvsM 1979, the drawing is on track. I have 5 pages left. I'm well into the 5th to last page. I should be done drawing pages around the 3rd or 4th week of March. As for when it will be available, like to ship, TBD. Probably within weeks of me getting done, but I don't want to commit to a date yet.
Yeah.
As soon as I know a date, you will all know a date.
And let's talk a little bit before I go about how we're going to miserably fail with our marketing after our projects are out.
Let's talk about it. Yes.
Please, people listening and watching.
That actually, so did you, I'm curious. Now, I want to make sure I got her name right. I wanted to know if you watched that video I sent you. Is it Kelsey? Yeah, Kelsey Rodriguez?
No.
The video was, these mistakes, oh, no. Yeah, I think this was it. These mistakes will ruin your social media growth. So Kelsey Rodriguez, I don't know how I got turned on to her, but she's just one of the many artists I follow on YouTube. And she has a solid social media game. She has a lot of YouTube followers, a lot of Instagram followers. Like she seems to know how to do that. Which is usually my first thing. Like if I'm getting advice from someone on like how to do your social media, the first thing I look is like, oh, how many subscribers do they have? And how many likes do their videos get? Like is this just someone who's just making videos, or do they seem to know what they're talking about? This woman seems to know what she's talking about. Anyway, she was talking about that trying to game the algorithm is a fool's errand, and worrying about hashtags is ridiculous. And like, they're basically all the things that a lot of people worry about are kind of a waste of time. And that at the end of the day, it comes down to basics.
Mm.
Like, can you define who your audience is, and are you making content for that audience? That's high quality, that they're going to enjoy.
Yeah.
And one thing that struck me, and she said, I get people reaching out to me all the time saying like, I'm doing everything right, and my numbers aren't going up, and I don't understand it. Could you please take a look and see, if you have any thoughts? And she's like, they're never doing everything right. Like there's, like they all think they are, but there's like, it's always very obvious things. But anyway, when she articulated, is like, it comes down to basics. Define your audience and make things that audience wants. Like when I applied that to myself, because I would like to grow my channel. Sure, why not? But when I thought like, okay, so I realized I can't really define my audience. And even if I could, I don't know if I want to do the things that would take. And that's the thing I think I told you. It's like, I know what it would take to blow up YouTube. And I don't think I would even really want to do that. Like, I don't want to make that my life. I don't want to make that, because it's not interesting to me. And this is where you and I have always had frustrations, where it's like, when it comes to promotion and marketing and getting out there and getting your stuff in front of people, tell me if I'm not correct, but I think we're the same in that it is so uninteresting to us, and so not fun, and so not what we're doing it for, that it just doesn't happen. Like we can't muster the enthusiasm to even clumsily attempt it. And so when I think about what this channel is, I think I described it all the conversations are blurring now. I think I said this to Christopher. I treat it like my college days, where it's like, hey, I'm going to be in the meal hall at that table in the back drawing. Come hang out if you want. And like, sometimes people come out and you end up bullshitting and working. That's kind of how I treat this channel. So really, when I think like, who is my audience is sort of like my friends. My friends and art friends.
Did you really draw in the meal hall?
Yeah, sometimes. Because like in the corner, they had these big tables and it was dead. And yeah, I used to be okay about drawing in public. I don't like to do it anymore. I don't even like to live stream drawing.
Yeah.
But back when I was younger, I was different.
Yeah.
Like, I think my audience is like my art friends and my real like social life friends. Not
Well,
and that's great. That's fine. But that's not ever. There's like a maximum limit to that, and I think I probably reached it. It's like 125 people or something.
I recently came to the happy conclusion, that I realized a realization, actually, that what I want is a goal. What I want is what I have now, just on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
It's like there's really everything I have. I want. I have the creative freedom. I have motivation to create. I have friends who I can, show ideas to and bounce things off of. But I just want better friends. No, I just.
Of course. No, we're the same. We're on exactly the same page.
We're here.
Yeah.
So you're watching this. No.
Yes.
No, but I mean, as far as an audience goes, I just want to widen it. I just want to on a bigger scale. Yeah. I mean, that's probably what everybody wants. But there's not a thing I like. Man, I need to have a television show on or I need to have a movie in the theater or whatever.
Yeah.
I've had the smallest tastes of those. And I actually know people who have had those and have those things. And it's just like the more I see of it and in my life, if at this age, if I don't have an idea of what I want, then it's not a very clear, it's not a very good goal for me then. So it's like I kind of realized I'm kind of there already, like as far as what I want. It's just like I just want it on a bigger scale. I just want more people to watch the films, and I just want more time to create them. I want more, but of the same thing.
Yeah, no, I think I'm in the same boat where but see, I for me at least, I feel like there is something a little dopey about saying I don't want to do anything different. I just want more. Like, I just want a bigger audience. I don't want to have to change anything I'm doing. I just want it to magically happen.
Yeah.
And I realize that's sort of silly. And I also realize, thinking about this after I watched that woman's video, my live streams in particular, for someone who doesn't know me at all, I can imagine they would be sort of not particularly appealing. Like, because I'm trying to put myself in their seat. Like, if I was on YouTube and I saw some guy, some artist, I have no idea who he is, I've never heard of his comic, and he's just doing what we're doing right now, I wouldn't necessarily watch that because I don't know this person, and it almost feels like I'm listening in on a kind of in the cafeteria. I'm listening to two other people talk. It doesn't feel inviting. Now, the edited videos I used to do, I think that's more accessible to just anybody. Anybody could come along and watch this.
I think you're right. You're right, and wrong.
Okay.
Maybe not in that order.
Tell me.
Okay, I think you're right about the part where, especially right about the part where you said it's like they're overhearing a conversation.
Yeah.
Of two guys in the cafeteria. The part where you're wrong about is about them not being interested, because people are just innately interested in two human beings talking and connecting about something. Even if you see two guys talking about a topic you're not interested, you're more likely to stop and say, what are they saying? Oh, okay.
And I think that might apply for like our top fives.
I think anything. I think if I saw, I know this because if I'm flipping through YouTube and I see, two people talking about, the January 6th or whatever, and it's like, I don't want to hear all this stuff again. But then for a minute you're like, well, wait, what's their angle?
What's their take? Yeah, and who are these guys? Yeah,
human beings just interacting.
I don't trust that my personality or my take is so interesting that would.
That's the other part. You're right about that. I was going to say you're right. That's the second point. You're right.
Okay. Finish your right and wrong things, because then we have another guest to let in, and we'll get his take. All right. So I'm not very interesting. So yes.
Interesting. Why are you doing this? And why even try to market it? No, but no. But I say that part.
We're rebranding the channel.
Yeah.
Algorithm poison. Okay. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. The human being part is the strongest factor that's going to keep people watching.
Yes.
The part where they might not, and this is again a casual viewer from the outside, they might not, is when, and I've seen this before, when somebody does a project or does a show like this just to bring up their own agenda, whatever it is. It could be, my agenda is I want to tell people about this character, so I'm gonna do a how-to on how to shade the human face, and as you're shading it, you're really just going, well, Blair really likes to engage with Richard, but they don't, and that's kind of the angle you're approaching it. You wanted to bring up your characters to begin. I'm not saying you, but I've seen that many times where in our community, that's a big thing to do too. I think we're a lot of times guilty of that, rather than just coming out saying, "Hey, I want to talk about this character." We'll
right. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah. Like, so you're saying like people who are trying to camouflage their marketing.
Yes.
And it's not like you're not fooling anybody.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So there's that. So just be real. Like, being real is a huge draw. Being yourself, being a human being is the thing. And then the other part. So that's all the right part. The only part I thought that's the answer that I believe. the part that I thought was wrong, where you said, that people don't want to hear two guys just like they're talking. I think they kind of do, and I think it gives them comfort to hear that more than you would think.
Well, and I can only use myself. Like I'm the sample. I'm okay with it if there's a topic and it's interesting to me. So like I'll listen to any two people talk. At least give them a chance. Like if it turns out, oh, these people are dipshits, then I'll like check out. But like if it's a topic that's like, yeah, I kind of want to hear something about that. Like I'll at least give it 15 minutes. So that's where I'm thinking, like, just to me, my theory is just turning on the live stream and bullshitting with like no particular topic, nothing in the title. I don't know if that necessarily, like, again, for my immediate circle, it's fine. But for like to grow the channel, I have a feeling like I don't know if that really does anything.
Yeah, and my agenda, my real agenda, was just to show you my pajamas. So
they're impressive. They're impressive. I'm glad you're wearing pajamas this time, frankly. I'm gonna let in our next green room guest. Let's see here. It is the one, the only, the nefarious, the infamous Keith Foster.
What?
What?
How's it going?
Wait a minute.
Who the hell let this guy in?
That guy lives in Chino.
Yes, he does.
I'm in West Covina. I can hear you,
Oh man,
Keith.
like right here. Like right
When
here.
you're
When they're recording, making comics, do you hear him talking?
I can hear him practicing music over there. Wow.
So I not to put anybody on the spot, but okay, just Jim, cover your ears. Keith, this is the guy I've been talking about. Like maybe have him on. Yeah. But so just
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, you can uncover your ears.
Okay.
Yeah.
Santa Claus is real. So
Keith,
Keith,
how are
I
you
just
doing?
want to tell. I'm going to turn this into the Keith show now because I just
Keith
wanted
show.
Big Pimp Jones.
Mhm.
I've won you at least 2 new fans.
I was wondering what that had. What that.
Okay.
Well,
Paul Pate is one of them. He's a huge fan. I don't know if you know who
Hell
Paul
yeah.
Pate is, but he's become a big fan now, and I'm very impressed. So
I don't know if I know I've thought this forever, but I don't think I've actually said it out loud. How great is that name anyway? Like Big Pimp Jones is just.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Paul Pate. I said that's great.
No, Paul Pate is. That's a very mediocre name. But like what? No. But that's like a band you want. Like I need to hear some of this. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I mentioned that on an episode of Making Comics that like it's funny, right? Because if I move my head a little bit, we see the band who I believe actually has the best name. I think Metallica is one of the best names going because you hear them and you it's a cool name, it's catchy, and you know exactly what they sound like. And I feel like that's the holy triumvirate there in band names, and that's what I like about Big Pimp Jones. You hear our name, you goddamn know what we sound like, man.
You know what?
It could just be generational, but to me, there's something about the era of bands, like when I was a kid, like they just seem to have, to me, like the perfect rock band names, like Def Leppard, and Metallica, and Motley Crue. Like these, I don't know. It's just these names. It's like that's just the most badass name I've ever heard.
When I was a kid, we had bands like Bill Haley and the Comets. Little Richard,
That is.
That's Little Richard on the phone right there. Sorry.
Yeah, Little Richard's like you're talking about me.
Yeah, he's like, I told you to keep my name out of your
Gary,
mouth.
I've mentioned to you that I have. We did a bunch of fake band names too. So there are records out there that are by Big Pimp Jones that are not named under Big Pimp Jones. One of them is, let me think. Clarence Foster in the Internal Revenue Service. That is one of our big names. Black Daniels and the 40-Ounce Commission. That's another one. And then another one is Nosotros Pimpamos. So,
wow. Wow.
Yeah. So there's records out there, like people can go buy them right now. That's actually us, but it's under a fake band name. But anyway.
So I don't know if you overheard anything that I was talking about with the science of growing audience and trying to find that. I guess maybe it's like, where is that line between trying to create kind of like everyone's just being natural? It's like, come in, be a part of the group chat, hang out, like very kind of inviting and warm, and feels more like you're getting to know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But not so far that it becomes insular. And the only people who are showing up are the people who are in the club, like to make it so it's inviting to actual strangers. And I don't know if I was thinking like maybe the key is topics, like specific clear topics anytime you're on. Maybe the key is like more edited, polished videos that aren't so much just like what we are doing right now, 3 people hanging out talking. Maybe this is fine. Jen seems to be arguing this is fine as long as the people are assholes and there's a definable thing that's being talked about. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts?
I don't know. I guess my only thought is it's kind of like, it's like it can all work if you make it work. It's, on a related note, I feel like it's kind of like pop music, like the adage of the entertainment industry in general is the old, what's it called? Bill Goldman line, right? Nobody knows anything. So, here's what we know.
Right.
We know that if someone came out with a song right now that was like hip hop, but with someone speaking, I don't know, fucking, but hip hop beats, but squirrel sounds with musical saws, right?
Nice.
If that was a hit, there'd be 40 of them. That's the only thing we know. The only thing we can hold as true is that if somebody strikes gold, everyone else will then run to California.
And then there'll be videos about squirrel sounds are the thing now, and you need squirrel sounds in here, right?
Yeah, I'm sure
You're
there's
a dummy if you're not doing squirrel sounds when it's like 6 weeks before you were a dummy if you were doing squirrel sounds. So,
yeah.
If
I mean, I don't know.
Yoko Ono would have gone to #1, there'd be a million Yoko Ono sound-alikes. Yeah.
So I mean, I think
like
everything works. I think when it comes to podcasts or to YouTube channels, I think anything can work, and I don't think there's a formula. I think if there was a formula, people would have found it out by now. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know.
I have a question in terms of making comics, the Making Comics podcast.
Yeah.
Where do you think you're getting your audience from? Are they finding? Okay, I guess I have 2 questions. First of all, if you could imagine, like, who do you think your audience is?
Well, I have demographics. Yeah.
What's that? Oh, you have. So, are they comic creators or comic fans or both? Do you have any sense of what you're?
Yeah. I think if I was just going like just ballpark, I would say well more than half of them are comic creators or aspiring comic creators. Mm-hmm. And I think that aspiring can be a big bucket.
That's a huge group, way bigger than actual creators. Yeah, many times.
I think working indie creators is probably like a small percentage, like a quarter, right? And then I think curious or aspiring creators are half of it at least, and then there's probably another quarter or so that's just people who who love to talk basketball and they can't wait until the hour 5 mark where Scott and I just go deep on
so you would then I would assume that the people who are finding the show, they're not finding it through being fans of you guys, like your work. They're finding it like and that's probably the more reliable on-ramp, right? Is like, so you're kind of providing a service. You're like, how do you do the thing?
Yeah, I think they're finding it by word of mouth. I think they're finding it by I think I heard you talking a little bit about algorithms, right? I think they find them via the algorithm that's putting it in their feed. The things we consume, all they want is for us to consume more through them. So if you like a bunch of podcasts on Apple Music, then Apple's going to recommend more to you. If you like them on Spotify, they're going to be like, hey, have you tried this? That kind of thing. What I can tell you about the growth of the Making Comics audience is it's been organic. Like it's been a slow, steady, it's time for one of my favorite economic references. It's been the growth of America via GDP. It's been, it's been like, why is the United States one of the strongest economic powers in the world? Because they grew 3% every year for 200 years,
Right.
and making comics has that very slow growth. It just grows a little bit every week. It's getting one more listener a week, two more, however many, right?
But it's going in the right direction. I guess I'm sort of circling a topic here, but I guess I'm trying to decide if I'm trying to define, well, what's my audience? At least with the YouTube channel, is my audience? It's one of two things. Is it me? And I think this is why right now it's a little confused. Is it for the fans, like people who have picked up DvsM, who've read DvsM and are interested in the creator, and so they tune in? So there's that, which is going to be a smaller but more engaged group, I would speculate. Or is it kind of closer to what Making Comics does, where it's like, I'm just sharing my experiences of making being an indie, making a comic. You might find that useful or encouraging or supported, like, way to kind of feel supported or whatever. And like, that's a larger group, but they're kind of, I think then they need maybe content. Like they need like how to decide on your panels, stuff like that. It's just like, I'm not, and that's where I think like that might be the route to a bigger audience. But that's what I was telling Jim, where it's like, I don't know if I want to, like, I have to admit, I don't love that. Like that. I mean, it's once in a while, but I can't be just regularly churning out tutorials. Like, I just know I'm not going to keep up with that because I don't care about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can speak to Making Comics on that one of the things that really created a nice uptick for us is when we decided to go to a main topic for every episode, right? So the format of Making Comics, which Gary, well, is the first part of the podcast is what we did last week. So we just recount the stuff we did involving comics. And then at some point we make our way to the main topic. And the main topic can be a lot of things. It can be working a show. It can be, it'll never be taxes. We know that because no one will listen. But it can be characters. It can be, what panels to draw, right? We try to balance that up. And we have noticed,
that helps.
The slope getting bigger with that. But to that point, it's funny because Scott and I were just talking about this over the weekend. At this point, we're 120 episodes in. If we were theoretically to recover some stuff that we recovered a year and a half ago, who the hell cares? They wouldn't. No, exactly. Like I don't think people are going to go like, oh man, this was episode 48. That kind of thing, right? I think
it's long enough.
And the twist. Yeah.
The line that you say all the time, like, a man can't cross the river twice in the same place or whatever it is, where it's like the man's different and the river's different. Like, I think there's, even if you did do the exact same topic today, it would be different, you both would have new insights, new thoughts. And also you're constrained, even though it's a 1 or 2 hour podcast. Like you're still kind of like picking, like, these are the 3 or 4 things I want to say out of probably 18 different things. Like, it'd be very easy to say, like, we're going to talk about page turns again this time. We're going to talk about the 5 things we didn't bring up last time, so it could be done.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that started with us consciously doing it, and now I think we just both do it naturally. It's not just talking about everything, but talking about the couple things we did that are either most relevant. Over here, see, the smaller camera's messing with me. That are either most relevant or give us the most interesting thing to talk about, and then we go from there.
Yeah. So like I want to be clear to anyone who's watching. I don't sit and hand-wring over like, what's my subscriber count? Like, that's part of something in this. Jim and I have talked about this before. Like, I honestly, it's the opposite. Like, it's very hard for me to give a shit. Like, I couldn't even tell you half the time. I knew when I hit 100 because it allowed me to customize my URL. So that was nice. But after, like, I don't. And I guess I'm just trying. When you're putting this amount of effort into your work, it's never been about the audience, and it's never been having like X number of people reading or making X number of dollars. But you know, if you're putting this kind of effort into it, it's like, look, if anyone is interested in this, I would like them to be able to find it, you know. And that's, so it's not like I want to be a millionaire or I want to get signed, you know, I want to get published. It's just like, I made a thing here, I spent a lot of time on it, I think it's good, I know other people think it's good, I bet there's lots of other people out there who would also think it's good. I just got to figure out how to find them, you know. Like, I'm not trying to hard sell it to people. I just know just basic math. You know, there's whatever 5 billion people on the planet. I bet 1 million people would be into DvsM. You know, like, out of that, that's a very modest, like, it's a percent of a percent of a percent. Like, that's got to be that many. You know, like, I just don't know, how do I find those people? You know, I don't know.
Man, that is the conundrum.
Well, Gary, maybe instead of asking who your audience is, maybe you need to ask yourself.
I can already tell this is going to be, look at the pose, look at the body weight.
Who your audience could be.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Well, you just said it, but I was going to say that earlier, and then you ruined my point. But,
Right.
But
go ahead, Jim.
Well, yeah, there's a lot. I mean, Gary, to touch on your point real quick. Exactly. I mean, there's an unlimited potential of people out there. The thing is, you got to meet it through connections, and connections can happen on accident. They can happen on purpose. You could network. But you kind of have to be out there and available. Yeah. And I don't know. I think this is a great way, because this is like a calling card that is around when you're asleep, around when you're on another continent, around when, you know, and just show off your dazzling personality.
Well, then there's no hope. Then I'm doomed for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's something that Scott and I talk about. Because I think we're getting close to a point on making comics where we might want to actually promote it. We've never promoted it. Yeah. We've never even printed
That's kind of how I feel about DvsM. I've never, like, I've done the most lazy, I show up on the shows of people I know that I like. You know, I've never cold called basically some other YouTube channel that I know reviews comics and is like, hey, I have a comic, could I come on sometime? It's always like, oh, I kind of know this guy, or this is a friend of a friend, or somebody, you know. I don't have a website. Like, I'm selling them through Etsy. Like, it's like the bare minimum effort. Now, to my credit, I've had some kind of modest, you know, gotten some traction and gotten some success and sold a few hundred books. And like, you know, like, that's all right. But I'm at that point where I feel like maybe this is as far as I can go with that level of effort. You know, maybe this is about seeing you. Yeah. Are you feeling the same way with comics?
I think we're getting close, because what Scott and I were talking about is that the numbers are getting to the point where we're like, oh, we could have something here. And that it would be interesting if it came, you know, like you just said, like, we know there's a lot of people out there who want to create. And we actually just got, I think we might end up reading it on the air, that we got a note from someone who, like, was sort of thinking about making a comic, and listening to the podcast has made them want to make their comic. And that's awesome. That's cool. I think it's about, you know, it's about those kind of what Jim was just saying, you know, like the people who, you know, if our audience was just comic creators, then we'd have to expand that a little bit to people who are considering making a comic. And I think one of the best things about comics, and one of the worst things about comics, is that there are low barriers to entry. And so what a lot of people, you know, I feel like comics over the last maybe 5 years, maybe even 10, have become this way for a lot of people to feel like they can get their story out there that they couldn't before. You know, you were the one who said it, I think, in a different context, Gary. You can write a screenplay and you can sell it for a ton of money, and no one is ever going to see it.
That's right. That was the appeal. I mean, if you can sort of draw and sort of write, you're off to the races. Like, you can get your story out there. Where, yeah, a screenplay, you're relying on other people making that movie. Or even if it's like, oh, I'll shoot it myself. Do you have a camera? Do you have people like? But that, like, a comic creator or a writer, like, you can kind of do it all yourself. And like what Jim's doing with the animation, you could do it all yourself and get it. You're totally in control of your fate, which is.
You guys doing comics have a huge advantage in the culture because there are so many good and bad and everywhere in between comic book podcasts and websites and message boards and everything. For what I do, there's not that much independent animation. I mean, I'm not going to end up on a big Hero 6 message board, promoting my stuff.
In a way, it surprises me because I feel like, tell me if I'm wrong, if you were interested in doing animation, just like with a lot of things, there's never been a better time in terms of like the software that's available, the ease, the accessibility. Right. Like, why aren't we seeing an explosion in like underground animation? I
think we are, but I think for the most part, we're in the early stages of it because now it's accessible. It's becoming accessible to everybody. You can animate on your iPad really well.
Yeah.
But it's not about animating. It's about storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what needs to really ramp up a lot. And I think is there needs to be more storytellers out there besides animators. It's almost like anybody could I'm drawing Spawn. It's like kids grew up in junior high doing that all the time, but how many
you can't do a whole movie of just like
write a full
look at Spawn punching this guy. Yeah, like, I mean, it's right. You need to come up with a story.
It's ultimately about storytelling, but I mean, for you, Gary, I don't know. A good piece of advice I got years ago was somebody said, find somebody that you respect as a creator, and look at all the shows they've gone on. And I know, I know Keith, you're a big Stephen King fan, but maybe you don't look at Stephen King, all the shows
like the top, but
easy. Tonight Show. I can go on the Tonight Show.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that.
So maybe what you do is instead of Stephen King, you look at, Larry King,
Dave Sim, right, or Neil Gaiman, right? Pre-fame.
You look at, and then you kind of mirror that a little bit, and it's bands do it all the time. Bands do it all the time. They look at their musical heroes, and then they want to play the same clubs that they played coming up. So
I think I've mentioned this other places, but I was really impressed by Lori Calcaterra's little tour for the Pale Rider comic that she writes, which when she was on her little media blitz, it seemed like 2 or 3 times a week she was popping up on another YouTube channel or podcast that I had never heard of for weeks. Like she had somehow come up with this list and she was just hitting them all. And I also admired her kind of moxie, which like I don't have, where like she reached out to me, I think, and was like, hey, I would love to come on your show and talk about the comic, like, which is something I need to get better at. I kind of I'm sort of like that person sitting by the phone in high school, like, when is someone going to ask me out? Like, I mean, you kind of like, you have to.
I have $1 billion idea. I wish I could sell you something right now, but I can't because it doesn't exist. But I've always said, wouldn't it be great if there was a service that hooked up creators with podcasts? So you type in, like, what do you do? I'm a comic book writer.
And give you a list.
And you're a comic book podcast. What are you looking for? Looking for comic book writers. What genre? This. What, or I'm a musician, or I'm an actor, or, whatever.
Yeah, and it gives you, like, it sorts all these podcasts.
And you're already like, you swipe right or swipe left or whatever. You just, it's like a service like that. But there's nothing out there that I know of that's like that.
I think there is. Yeah. In fact, had I gone first, I would have said, I know of a service where they do, because like your thing is like, Gary, why doesn't anyone ask me out? And my thing is like, I'm going to pay people to ask me out because I'm lazy. you know,
Tell us.
I've done that too. No, wait.
I have to look up what it is.
Okay.
I got to make.
I'm ready to write.
You want me to say it on air? Or you want me to tell you after? This is.
Well, I don't know. Is it a speakeasy thing? Should we not? I'm fine unless you don't want to say it on air. I'm fine saying it on air.
I'll say it on air. So I'm aware of it. I don't know how it works, but it's paid. It's paid.
Okay.
Podmatch.
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 It's exactly what a time traveler watched this and went back in time and read it.
And you say,
So
yes. Unfortunately, Jim can't make his $1 billion off this. He's going to have
No.
All right, I'll settle for like $20 and a bag of Doritos.
Yeah. So I'm seriously considering doing this, and it's funny because you talking about it makes me think about it. It is paid, but like,
so how much does it cost?
As you know, Gary, I just paid for a comic about 16 hours ago that may not have been the best life decision. So I think
it was a considerable spend. Yeah, I know.
It was a considerable
I love anytime I worry about my enthusiast purchasing. I love to check in on what Keith and Scott have gotten recently because boy, they make me feel like okay, it's not too high.
Kind of like an
don't get us
infomercial.
together.
Yeah.
What was that?
But wait, you're telling me that there's a service.
Yes.
No, I'm going to check this out. I wrote it down. I'm going to check it out right after.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for that.
I'm gonna mess with it too because it feels like, and it's the kind of thing where, like in my case, you when you first sign up, you put whether you're a guest or you're a podcaster or you're both. So
wow,
I'm both.
It's like a matchmaking. This is perfect. This is exactly. No, this is good. The other thing, and this is something I've had a friend who's been telling me this for years, and also I think Josh Kemble would be a proponent of this, is see if you can find an agent. I've always dragged my feet on that. Same reason I've dragged my feet on so many other things. It's like I'm not ready to I don't know. There's something about that that's just a little intimidating to me where it's like, I don't know. But I think the reason I'm thinking about this so much now is I'm halfway through the series. I'm going to have 3 books done. I'm going to have a trade of the first 3. And I feel like I've said this with with the second one and now especially with the third. Now that I have a few, I think it would be easier for people, not just audience, but professional people, editors, agents, whoever, to really get a sense of like what I'm doing. Like I was never eager to just pass 1975 in front of people and say, here you go. There's a lot more coming. Just you have to picture it in your head. Like I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give them a better sense of like, it's this anthology thing, a lot of different focal characters, but I am kind of revisiting themes and there will be a big kind of, point to all this. And I didn't want to have to try and like, really, I promise. I wanted to kind of show enough to show like I'm serious and something's happening here. And now I feel like halfway done, I have something. I feel more confident doing that. But that's right, Tuesday night. It was a little late, a little unusual, but hop on if you have time, Scott. So,
I mean, that's pretty meta. How could he be here if he didn't hop on?
Well, pop into the green room.
Oh, pop on here.
Yeah. Pop on, really, jump in. There we go.
9 people. Yeah, 9 people. Yeah, no.
I wonder if,
fill it up. I want it to look like the Brady Bunch.
I wonder if Scott found out about this through Podmatch.
Well, I haven't signed up yet. I don't know.
We can do it right now. Let's just do it right now and see what happens. No, I'm excited. This especially, not just when I get the third one done, but when I get the trade done, I would really want to chase this and see, how I could get.
Yeah, Keith. One of the byproducts of your show is you make me want to drink beer.
Yeah, me too. Oh, that reminds me. I wanted to have a beer while I was doing this. So I'm going to be right back. This was the 5 pages left beer I was going to have. I'll be right back.
Oh man, I feel like I should get a beer too, but I'm not.
What beer has tickled your fancy, Jim? Like, what beer would you drink if you were drinking one?
I'm kind of a weakling when I don't drink that often, but when I do drink, I think I like, I was a big, was it Hefeweizen or
Oh, Hefeweizens. Yeah.
Hefeweizen? Yeah, I mean, yeah, like stuff like that. I'm not a bitter beer guy. I don't like real bitter, like, sour beer. You guys talked one time, Gary had on the show, and when I went to visit him in Arizona, I said, you better find one of these because I'm driving all the way from LA. But he couldn't find it. But it was a cookie dough beer or something like that, he had a cookie. Oh. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Are you referring to the Trader Joe's Speculoos cookie butter beer? I think that's what you're talking about.
Was that it, Gary? The cookie butter beer? The beer that you had that time that I said if you could find it.
No, that was the brewery.
Oh, it was that one. The brewery, like cinnamon roll.
Cinnamon roll. Yeah. Or
no, it was cookie. It was cookie. Something cookie.
Oatmeal. It was oatmeal. Oatmeal cookie.
Yes.
Brewery oatmeal cookie.
I'm gonna go
I've
grab
never
one.
Seen anywhere else.
Gary, I still have one of the beers you bought me.
Oh, do you?
I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna go get it.
Go for it, man. How shitty is
classic
this?
Guinness.
Now I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking.
I want a comfort beer.
I gotta go pick up my kid in an hour.
You can pound a Guinness and still pick up a kid.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. We're doing this one time. Oh, I thought Jim was referring to the Trader Joe's made this. If you never had it, it's like a Speculoos cookie butter ale. They do it around Christmas time, I think. It's quite
Trader
good.
Joe's is they're nuts for the Speculoos. Any configuration of it they can do, they want it.
Yeah.
Is it product placement if I show the
There we go. That's it. Yeah.
Oh my.
I like that graphic. I mostly I think I was drawn to it just for the label.
What is it? It's like a donkey eating a piece of chocolate?
It's a cow.
Yeah.
Like a cow. Chocolate milk.
Oh,
a cow eating a chocolate bar.
That makes more sense now.
Yeah, it makes more sense.
Oh. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers, viewers at home. So, yes, that was I watched Kelsey Rodriguez's video. I realized I can't define my audience. Even if I could, I don't know if I want to make content for them. I don't know what the hell I'm doing with my YouTube. I'm enjoying it, which is the most important thing. Like, I like just sort of live streaming and seeing who shows up and talking to you guys and treating it like I said, like I'll be at the cafe at the back table, come by if you want. Like that's it. But I'm also, like I said, recognizing I would like to be more visible. I would like to grow the audience, and I'm not sure how to go about that. But
naturally would be one way, and audience can smell desperation, so try to avoid that. And,
yes,
and not to be corny or anything, but really, it seems like when people have fun, that's when good things start happening, And
yeah, I mean, those are the channels I like. I don't know. It's tough. You can't tell if it's. Sometimes it's like, well, is my own taste useful? Like, I know the things I don't like in channels.
Gary, I'm so wasted right now. Oh my god.
Are you already just slammed? Or are you already just totally?
Have 2 sips.
Yeah,
just gone.
Drunk.
You're drunk.
Yeah.
Shut up. You're drunk.
I'm fine.
You have a problem.
I have not, by the way, just to promote, everyone should go and check out Jim's YouTube channel and watch 4 or 5 or 6 of his videos. And then they should subscribe to Making Comics, the podcast, available wherever podcasts are. I have not listened to this week's yet because I was busy drawing, but it's endings and getting them right, which I'm intrigued. I hope I'll have an opportunity to drink up and Rise of Skywalker will be brought up as how not to do it. But I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I didn't because that's a schism among Mr. Scott and I.
Now does Scott lost? like Rise of Skywalker or just not hate Rise of Skywalker?
I mean, aren't they the same thing?
No, that's very different.
So
Like, does he have a neutral, like it wasn't bad, like that kind of attitude, or he's like, no, that was awesome?
I'm not going to speak too much for him, but if I'm going to try to summarize, I believe he believes that Rise of Skywalker is fine, and that the only reason the only places it has flaws are the places where our Lord and Savior J.J. Abrams tried to salvage the mess that Rian Johnson left him.
See, okay, then it's good it didn't come up, because that's preposterous. Just preposterous.
Well, Gary, we're aligned with.
We have the same opinion. Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So yeah. Somehow Palpatine returned.
Somehow Palpatine has returned.
I can't even use the word somehow in a sentence without interjecting my own sentence. Somehow Palpatine returned, and then I actually get to my point. So what are you gonna do? So yeah, I mean, I don't know, but like, have you talked about where are you, man? You said 5 pages left. You just brought up a podcast about endings.
5 pages left. Yeah. Where am I at in terms of what?
How you feeling? You feeling good?
Good. I mean, it's, as I said on the outset, 5 pages left sounds like this, but it really is, it's 5 weeks of drawing, so it's I'm trying to concentrate on like of a 60, what will ultimately be a 60-page comic. I've done 55, like I'm well into the 90% left to do, or 90%'s done. It feels good. As I've talked about, I think on, I don't know if it was the last time I was on Artcasters or my last live stream, I started the process of fantasizing about all the things I'm going to do when I'm done drawing entirely too early. Way too early. And all it did was just tire me out faster. Like, it was stupid. It's like I was doing the Boston Marathon. I had 3 miles left. And I was thinking, like, oh my God, I'm going to have a stack of pancakes. I'm going to take a shower. Like, that is not, like, it's too early for that kind of thought. Like, you need to get, like, wait at least until you see the finish line before you start, oh my God, it's going to be great not running. I started way too early. I think I was talking to you about all the things I wanted to do once I was done drawing like a month ago, which is too early.
How excited are you to start the next story? How much of I'm
actually very excited to start writing. My fatigue, it's not just working. Like, in general, it's not like, oh, I want to do nothing now. It's drawing. Like, I'm sick of drawing I'm sick of 55 weeks of drawing and 5 weeks to go. But like workload, I'm reluctant to say it. I'm really excited to write the next one because I've been thinking about it for a long time. And I've even thought maybe I'll write DvsM 4 and DvsM 5 just back to back, like just to enjoy the writing process and really like drag it out, because once I finish the script for 4, I know how I work. I'm going to start doing all my background research, and I'm going to start looking up uniforms. I'm going to start looking up, like, what kind of rifle would that be? I'm going to want to start location, like taking photos of trees and I'm going to be doing all this research. And then once I get that done, I'll kind of want to start thumbnailing, and before you know it, I'll be drawing the next DvsM. And I don't there's no reason to rush into it. I want to take as long of a break from drawing as I can without wasting time. So I think I'm going to write 4 and 5 back to back. 6 I will write last. And this is something I wasn't sure if I kind of wanted to get Keith's reaction to it as the writer. I do have an outline for DvsM 6, which will be the last installment of DvsM, where every previous one is very much anthology style, where it's standalone with a unique character and a very specific focus. 6 does have to tie it all together. Like 6 is the finale. So you can't just do, one more anthology chapter and then just say like, well, here's the 6 random stories I told. There has to be some sort of like, what does it all mean conclusion to it. I have an outline for it. I have very clear ideas about it. And I have pages and pages of notes of like things like ranging from, I think something like this will happen, to very specific, like this dialogue, like a few like back and forth or whatever. But I know by the time I'm doing 6, I will be probably 4 or 5 years older and will have been looking back on DvsM for a long time. I will have started the first DvsM, almost 10 years before. Maybe by that time. And I might have perspective and seasoning and maturity about it and insight into it that I don't have now. So I don't want to really commit to like what is 6 until I have that benefit of being in my 50s. I've been doing DvsM for years. And I'm it's revealed more of itself to me. And it's revealed more of, like, I know what I think I'm doing, but I know from the experience of the first 2, going back and reading them, sometimes you see what you were actually doing. You realize, like, oh, it is about this, what I thought, but it's also very much about this, and I hadn't intended that. It just is in there. Like, because all writing is autobiographical, like something just got in there that, oh, I didn't realize, like, this is a big theme and I hadn't really intended that, but now that's a big theme. I'm just expecting that to be even more the case when I'm getting ready to write 6 at the end. That's why I would not want to write the script for 6 now. Keith, as the writer in residence, reaction, thoughts?
I don't know if you're going to love this. So
okay.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. Not only do I think that's a wonderful idea for 6,
yes.
I think it's a wonderful idea for 5. I do not think you should write 5. So for me, Gary, my theory, in fact, so I am at this exact moment right now.
Yeah.
As part of a creator retreat that I did with, our boy Scott Lost.
Yes, I was very envious. And I appreciated the invite. It broke my heart that I just couldn't.
Next time, dude. Next time. Yeah, next time. I just finished Kadoja Volume 4, Number 3. So I just finished the overall 17th issue of Kadoja, the script. It will go 18 issues. It's very tempting to write the final issue right now. It is. But I'm not going to. And the reason I'm not going to is because if I wait 3 months, that will be 3 months of better writer I will be. I will have read 10 more novels, 50 more comics, listened to X more podcasts, talked craft with Scott for 3 more months, gone back and evaluated my old stuff.
Yeah, I was just about to interject that. Like, have a little more perspective on your own work, where you're like, I don't like doing this. I'm not going to do that anymore. Yeah, exactly. And I keep. I don't know if we talked about this ever, but I keep all the Kadoja books right here because I have to have them. It's like I forget. Like, what did I bring up there in the first arc again? Oh, there's that thing I wanted to bring up here. Let me go back and get it. So for me, it's always about kicking that future writing date as far as possible down the road because I'm going to be the best writer I can possibly be at that point in time. If I was going to do it sooner, then I'm actually robbing myself of, in your case for 4 versus 5, probably a year of development, right? And in the case of 6, it would be 2 years of development. So I would say not only is it an awesome idea to wait until the last possible minute for 6, I also think that would hold true for 5. I would, as much as it isn't fun, I would say write 4, draw 4, and then you'll be in the position to write 5. You're right. I mean, or even if I wanted to screw around with 5, don't write the script. You could do more like prep, but don't commit to writing a script yet.
Right, exactly. Big strokes, notes to your future self.
Yeah, like kind of really flesh it out, but no final, like, no. We'll see. Yeah.
Exactly. You don't sit down with the official, Quentin Tarantino notebook that you're opening until
Right.
day one of when you want to do
Until
it.
like,
right?
yeah, 4 is in the can and I'm ready for, yeah, you're right.
Right.
You're right. No, that wasn't as difficult to hear as you worried. I think you're right. It was the template's nudge. That gave me a funny thought though, when you're talking about Kadoja sitting next to you. I've got my copies of DvsM next to me because I have to once in a while refer and make sure I'm being consistent with like just what do ray guns do to people and how and how does just like basic like how does how am I writing this intro and what's the style of it again? So here's just a question. Take all the time you need, but I have a feeling both of you might have answers. I know I have answers. What is something you've forgotten about your own work or had trouble remembering about your own work that a fan of your work would be astonished you would forget? Can you think of anything that's like, for example, and this is made up, but like I'm sure there's some equivalent. Sometimes people will like corner, Harrison Ford and ask him some question about Han Solo. And it's like, how the fuck do I know? Like, I don't remember, and they can't even believe that he doesn't, how do you not remember like the most, or the last Dan Aykroyd, a question about Ghostbusters. And it's like, I don't remember. I think it was, oh no, you're right. No, I had that. What's something about your own work that you either you don't remember or you have forgotten, now, but you've forgotten in the past, that a fan of yours would be a little shocked or astonished or horrified that you forgot?
Jim's going first.
Wow. I think it's when I created DvsM, I wasn't really thinking that Gary would steal the idea from me.
Right. Yeah, that's
Here.
Do you need more time to think? I know mine. I think about it.
Yeah, because I have no idea, Gary.
I'll go after you,
Someone asked me about Old Man in Black's name, and I totally forgot. I couldn't remember what Old Man in Black's actual name was. And I'd come up with a name, and I'd written it, and it's in the book, and I totally forgot. It just... Because it's like, it's just a name. You pick a name. And I noticed someone who might be a fan of 75, they're like, how do you forget it? Because a person isn't their name. A person is the person. That's all these set of characteristics. I remember everything about Old Man in Black except his name, because his name is just like the label. I remember because I was so horrified, like I had to look up his name once, but like of a thing I wrote. But that would be an example. But
I think for me, yeah. For me, I think I can't say I ever had a fan ask me this, but I think it was in the vein of what might they. It's that, I mean, Kadoja, its primary influence is Godzilla, right? We've all watched Godzilla movies. We've all watched Gamera movies. And one of the big things about Godzilla and Gamera is that at the end, there's some big move that the king monster pulls out of its ass, right? Like that's the core of a lot of these movies. And so Kadoja is a nonstop thing to that, right? I mean, I've done a great job creating this monster that is hyper, it's deep blue meets Albert Einstein, but in a 200-foot tall kaiju weapon factory. So you give that kind of artillery, that kind of problem solving, and it's going to come up with some pretty cool ideas. Sometimes I lose sight of what all the ideas were, where I'm like, what's it all done again? And so that's one of the main reasons I'm here. That and the fact that there are some tertiary characters that I have put in earlier issues of Kadoja because I wanted to deliver on it. And I have to remind myself, like, don't forget to put this character back in the story, because you're trying to keep a lot of basketballs spinning. So no one's ever asked about them, but those are the two things that I fight the most of, like making sure that I'm being consistent with all of Kadoja's powers and with the rules that I have laid out with Kadoja in the previous 15 and counting issues. And then also the threads that I'm just keeping afloat with all those low secondary, high tertiary characters in the
Keith, are there any UFOs in Kadoja?
No.
Damn it. I wanted a crossover.
No, there's no DvsM Kadoja crossover.
But
I can picture a cameo. Look, if you ever want the Men in Black to appear in Kadoja, we'll work something out. It would be just a little background thing. It makes sense.
All right, Gary.
Yeah.
Since Gary stumped me with that question,
Yes.
I'm gonna have to stump you guys with one.
Okay.
I want to know, what is your brand's Mickey Mouse? If you had to pick, what is your
like for Keith, it's got to be Kadoja, right? Kadoja itself.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
I
was
mean,
really a setup.
I keep old Mickey near me at my desk here. Gary, have you ever seen this? Hold it.
Is that the same one you had at the table?
Wow.
Yeah, except it's a 12-inch 3D print, right? So
Well, the one you had at Fan Fusion, right?
Well, not this size though. This thing is gargantuan, right?
Yeah, that one is bigger, right? And the other one was red,
here's-
right?
Yeah, this thing's enormous. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
So this, I mean, Gary, I think Gary's answer will be more interesting. For me, it's like my title character, the good guy, anti-hero, giant monster. That's gonna be my.
This question was actually designed to stump Gary.
To stump me. Actually, I
need a question that's a softball for Keith, but that Gary can't figure out.
I don't have a good. It's hard. I don't.
Come on, Hodges.
Also kind of like saying I maybe the fans would be shocked that I forgot George's name. Maybe the fans would be shocked that I don't know if I really understand my audience. My impression. Well, I think there's two. But there's two books, and I think it kind of worked out. I think there's a camp that's very much like Team Ruben. Like they love Young Man in Black. They think like he's sort of the guy.
But
there are people who are. I've met these people at cons, and I've talked to them on Instagram, who are passionate about Jenny in '97. I don't think it's as big a group as Ruben, but the people who like Jenny really like Jenny.
That's who
Jenny,
I think of your book, by the way.
What's that?
That's who I think of when I think of your book or your properties, Jenny. Yeah.
See, I thought you would have been a Ruben guy.
You don't know me, and you don't own me. So.
Sorry.
I love Ruben. Ruben is
the Mars pilot.
Actually, Ruben is probably my favorite character in your books, but it's not the one I think of when I think of your books. I think of Jenny.
I remember one of the earliest conversations we had, maybe even the first or second. You told me that Ruben was your favorite character purely because he was Latino. Like that was it. Like that. I mean, that was enough to
get up for one. And I'm deeply offended. For two.
Be offended if you like, but that's what you said. And but
I think Ruben is my favorite character because I like the idea of a big lumbering guy that there's a lot going on under the surface.
Yeah.
He's an interesting character. He's not one-dimensional.
Yeah.
But I think
he's not just the heavy. He's not just like the muscle. Yeah.
But I think your Jenny character was just it was something about it was iconic. Ruben's iconic, but he's more, I just think she's more iconic than him.
To me, if I had to pick, it's tough. This creeps into, I'm usually very careful about, like, I don't like to talk about what DvsM is about, what I'm trying to say, whatever, because I feel like I want the reader to have their experience. Like I don't want them to steer them. But, and this creeps into that, but if there was a character that was the Mickey Mouse of DvsM, at least so far, I would prefer it was Jenny. Because I think Jenny, like, there's a heart and a vulnerability to her that Ruben doesn't have. I also am a big fan of her.
Clearly, Jenny is Donald Duck. And Ruben is obviously your Goofy. I can't believe you didn't say this. Your Mickey Mouse is actually the Martian.
See, no, I thought Jenny was Daffy Duck. And
that's the wrong property.
And, well, whatever. And Ruben was more Bugs Bunny.
You know what you need to bring into DvsM, by the way, is like a young kid, like a wisecracking kid, that says like little wisecrack and has like bowl haircut. Because all sitcoms do that. eventually. So
Eventually, it's a jump the shark
when
thing.
it's time to mark their death. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm saving that for the 6th book.
yeah,
I'm
the
gonna-
6th book.
I'm not going to try and I'm not going to aim for Keith. You'll be happy to know since you did the endings podcast. I'm not looking for a satisfying conclusion. I'm looking just to burn it to the ground. Just burn it and salt the earth so nothing can grow there ever again. Just totally wreck all these years I spent building. Just destroy.
Is that really what you want? You want Hamlet? You just want everybody goes?
Everybody dies. Yeah. No.
It works in Shakespeare.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thanks for spoiling Hamlet. Okay.
I was going to see that.
That was my next video rental.
Final 5, Firehawk. 5 pages left. 4.5. Because I've already started page 5. The 5th to last.
I want to bring up a point to Keith too. A proof is in the pudding point to Keith.
Okay.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna sit here.
We're going to
quiet,
wait. Yes. Let's wait for his return.
and we're gonna look at his posters while we're here. By the way, Metallica's best song.
Metallica. What is?
Can I name my favorite Metallica song?
Please.
Clearly, it's one. Landmine has taken my sight, taken my way. It's a great song.
Okay. He's
Wife
back.
phone call. Wife
Okay.
phone call.
Keith, I want to bring. This is a little proof is in the pudding comment.
Yeah.
Earlier, I had mentioned because that just two guys just chatting, talking, having a friendly conversation is interesting, even if you don't know the topic.
Mhm.
That is actually what got me interested in your show.
Mm.
Is just between you and Scott, just the casual, the conversation, not necessarily always the topic. It's just the just like listening to two friends talk. I was in Santa Barbara this weekend working on my new project, which sounds so pretentious.
That as soon as that came out of your mouth, you realize.
And you know what? I don't even care. I don't care. But I was in Santa Barbara, and I happened to be at a coffee shop, and I was working on. And you know what I was listening to? I wasn't listening to DvsM talk. I was listening to Making Comics.
Wow.
2 episodes in a row. And it was just you guys talking. I've never read Kadojo. I don't know anything about Scott's work. I just know you guys as personalities, and I was just really interested. It was really natural and good. So, that's proof is in the pudding. I chose to listen to that because they have a friendship and a repertoire, and I think that's what this can bring. Although, I think you will agree that between you and I, we have a horrible relationship, dysfunctional. So
It's really bad.
This is the last time I'm ever going to be. Yeah.
yeah.
Now, Jim and I, all we do is fight and cry and then make up. But the making up is very sweet.
You got to break up to make up.
Yeah. Did I like in the back of my consciousness hear some kind of Metallica thing while I was talking to my wife on mute?
There was something about Metallica, yeah.
I said my favorite Metallica song. I don't know if this is a good answer considered in the Metallica fan
I think it's
world,
a safe answer.
but no, it's genuinely my favorite Metallica song is One.
Well, and no, it may be genuine, but I think it's a non-controversial answer.
One is one of my favorite songs. Period. It goes on my all-time list. I really love that song, and I know there's other songs that are considered better by the fans, but I just happen to like that one. I didn't say Enter Sandman.
One's pretty awesome. Yeah.
That would be, I think I would call bullshit if you said Enter Sandman. Not that it's a bad
You said nothing else matters. I'm out of here. I'm just leaving.
Yeah. Then it's like, okay, you watched MTV, is what you're saying. Your knowledge of Metallica is based on MTV.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to know Metallica in real time. I mean, I remember being in high school and guys coming back from Monsters of Rock. So I'm more of a
We camped all night to buy tickets when you still bought them at a box office.
I think I really enjoy Metallica. I think they're amazing and definitely Hall of Fame first ballot. They deserve it. My personal taste, I think I lean a little bit more towards like Guns N' Roses.
Mm-hmm.
Personally. That's just me. But that's just me.
Christopher is turning the tables on you, Jim.
Okay, Christopher. Gary, 5 pages left. Metallica, 1. Great song. Beer, gone.
Yeah.
What else? Making comics, great podcast. Friendship, repertoire. I think we're all cut up.
Okay.
Mhm.
And now he wants you to do a Christopher Walken impression.
Okay. Christopher Walken. I can't do Christopher Walken, but I could do Christopher Cross.
Speaking of Metallica, yeah.
Okay. But thank you, Christopher. All Christophers matter. So.
I had a thought and now I lost it because I was distracted by you talking about Metallica.
No, that's I wanted to interject that little bit.
Oh, I know it was.
Also,
so if and when I successfully pressure Jim into doing top 5s again, what would be a personal top 5 category that you would be excited to participate in? If we were going to have you on as a guest, hypothetically.
Okay. What have you done? Like I think I know you did top 5
low-hanging fruit. We've done movies,
top 5 fast foods, top 5. What else?
Magazines,
albums. Top
but just
5,
generically albums, no specific
top
genre.
5 religions.
We did not
Top
do
5. I can't. That's it. I think that's where we ended.
Here, wait. I can look at. Let me look at the list.
There's
a lot of obvious ones we still need to do, like comic books. We need to do.
Yeah.
But let's see here. Albums, animals, arcade.
Animals. Yeah, we did top 5 animals.
Arcade games, board games, fast food items, hip hop, love songs, magazines, movie villains, movies, network TV.
You've done all
and
that.
How many episodes? How many episodes is that, Gary?
Amusement park rides.
How many episodes have we done?
I think we've done 10, right?
That's a great place to end.
No, we've done 11. Actually, no, we've done 10. Amusement parks would be 11.
That's why it never happened. So.
Songs.
I think
Let's do a really quick top 5 right now.
Okay, right. I just off the
presidential candidates. Yeah,
we'll let Keith suggest it.
The top 5 right now.
Is that too much pressure?
Top 5 right now.
Top 5 right now.
Damn. Top 5 right now. Give me 2 minutes.
Yeah. Top 5 favorite federal offenses: kidnapping.
Oh, there's so many.
Drug trafficking. Sex trafficking.
Money laundering. I've always been
Money laundering.
I've been a fan of that.
You said you already did hip hop, right? I would do. Okay, so guitarists.
Oh, love it. You're gonna hate it, Keith. You're gonna hate mine, but I love this topic.
Okay, I'm gonna just spectate this one because I don't know if I have any good answers.
Okay, let's start with 5. Number 5.
Oh man, I'm rhyming off the dome here. Yeah,
you're gonna hate my answers, but this is from my
Go.
heart.
Okay, get us started, Jim.
Number 5, Ricky Wilson from the B-52s.
okay.
I think that's a legitimate answer.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Am I doing 5? Is that how it works?
You do one now.
Countdown.
Ace Frehley.
Oh,
God bless you. God bless you.
His technique, like no one's gonna say
huge.
Oh my God, Ace Frehley's such a technically great guitarist, but Ace Frehley's Ace Frehley. The guy had a ton of style.
There's nothing wrong with Ace Frehley. He's great.
Yeah. He had. I mean, he's on albums being totally drunk and sucking, and that's part of the charm.
He's awesome. I love. I'm absolutely okay.
Yeah.
Number 4 for me. And these are personal favorites. I'm not saying that.
Yes. Not all time. Your personal favorites.
Yeah.
Number 4, I'm going to say Kurt Cobain. I love his rhythm guitar. I love it. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Can I give a co-award for 4? Is that cheesy? Because I feel like they're paired, these two.
I think there are no rules. I think absolutely.
Okay. So for me, number 4 is going to be Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman. They are the guitarists for Slayer. and they are a matched pair, right? Like they were the first guitarists ever that when you bought the CD back in the day or the cassette, they told you who did each solo. It was really important to them to let you know who did each solo, even though I can't fucking tell them apart.
Sure.
It's just like if you've ever heard Slayer guitar solos, they basically, somebody said they sound like what electrified barbed wire would feel like if you floss your ears with it. You know, it's just all they're doing is scales up and down, but they're doing it so goddamn fast and insane that it works. So there's my number 4.
All right.
Match.
I wish there were 6 instead of
No.
5.
No, this is the thing at top 5, the hard choices. Number 3, Jim.
There's 2 guys that I'm like, oh, it's got to be one of them, but I'm going to go with the one that has a deeper catalog. It's Prince. I think Prince is one of the tastiest guitarists I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
That's Prince. And
that's a good strong choice.
Yeah, and
So that was actually my number 2. Yeah.
The only
Look
problem is that he's so good on every instrument.
Mm-hmm.
So but that would be my number. What are we on? That's 3, right?
That's 3, but that's also Keith's number 2. So
That's also my number 2. Yeah.
Oh,
Prince was
okay. So
my
should I do my next one?
Yeah, go for it. And then I'll do
Okay.
my number 3 in reverse.
yeah.
My next one, and then when we get to 2, we should do our honorable mentions.
Okay.
Before you go to number 1. All right.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is Jimmy Page.
Okay.
Jimmy Page. I love his guitar playing. Absolutely love it. So musical.
Okay.
It just
So
sounds.
for me, oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Good.
I'll stay in the same era, man, but I'm gonna go different. I'm gonna go riffs on riffs and do Tony Iommi.
Okay.
Black Sabbath's riffs are the choppiest, juiciest, meatiest, doom-loving, amazing things ever. So yeah.
You know what Black Sabbath song I was listening to this morning? A song called Serenity.
Okay.
It's a ballad, by the way, Gary.
Great.
Okay, number 2. Wait, was that my number 2 already?
That was your 2. Yeah, and my 2 was Prince.
So here's
here
my
we are.
honorable mention.
Okay, so we're doing honorable mentions.
How many
All right.
honorable mentions are you
Right
doing?
away, my honorable mentions come to mind. This guy almost made my top 5 list. Love John Frusciante from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Okay.
Huge fan. Chili Peppers with John Frusciante, I'm a fan. Without, I think they're pretty good. But with, I'm a huge fan. I think he's a genius. Simple guitar parts. He just plays with a lot of feeling and soul. And my other honorable mention, I have to put, not a lot of people would even consider this guy a guitarist, but he's just so gifted with just his musical parts are just really, really great. There's a guy, Martin Gore from Depeche Mode. Just the little bits that he plays are so perfect. So anyways, those are my 2 honorable mentions. I'll
Super
list.
curious if we had the same number 1. But so for my honorable mentions, again, I'm just rhyming off the dome. But this ended up coming out okay. I'm going to 2 different genres, right? So number 1 is I'm going to Grant Green, who is a jazz guitarist. Who, if you've ever heard Grant Green, dude, I played it for my bassist in Big Tim Jones, and he wanted to smash shit. You know, he's just like it's incredible, like funk-based virtuoso jazz guitar. And so Grant Green is awesome. And then my other honorable mention will be Jimmy Nolan, who is the well-known, I'm pretty sure he went through the funk era, but he's James Brown's guitarist. So
okay, yeah.
in Big Pimp Jones, I am the primary songwriter. I do vocals a lot of the time, but I am also the guitarist. So
That's awesome.
There's a famous story. So Jimmy Nolan may not have been part of this story, but it embodies the story that one time James Brown was trying out guitarists, and so guitarists would come in and he would say, "Can you play an E9 chord?" And they'd be like, "Well, of course I can." For 35 minutes. That's all you need to know about James Brown, right?
There,
Like,
there we go.
James Brown's nothing but for 35 minutes, right? Like,
Nice.
anyway. Yeah. Okay, so who's number one? Do I get to go number
Okay,
one?
okay. By the way, Ace Frehley has to be on my honorable mention too.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. I was a huge Kiss fan.
my idol when I was 7. You know.
Yeah, I was a Peter Criss guy, by the way.
Oh, okay. I
We would've
met
got
Ace
along.
Frehley about. I also met Ace Frehley about 8 years ago. That's a story.
Oh, really?
I don't think Gary's never heard it. Yeah, I'll
No, I haven't.
I love
I'll
it.
tell it to you sometime.
All right, my number one might be cliche, but this person literally, I believe, was from another planet because there's never been anyone even close to this guy. He's so far ahead of the pack that it's insane. My number one is Brian Austin Green. No, my number one is, in my opinion, the greatest, especially rock guitarist of all time, Jimi Hendrix. I can't even. It's in a different category almost. You know,
It's a very legitimate number one choice.
here's the one thing I want to say about Jimi Hendrix. That nobody brings this up really. Jimi Hendrix could touch the guitar and make music with it. Not touch the guitar and get his fingers placed, and he would literally go, like his hand would hit the guitar and it would go, and it would be like the greatest little line you've ever heard. He was so musical, so natural. The guitar was part of him. Prince has that too. Out of all the guitars I just mentioned, Jimi Hendrix and Prince both have that talent to just for a second they can touch the guitar and it just makes a really, really great sound.
And
So
that's
my
why
number one.
that was why Prince was my number 2 and Jimi Hendrix was my number 1. So we agree on Hendrix. Yeah. I had there's a cool book. Gary, I don't know if you read. I feel like I've mentioned this before. I have mentioned it on the podcast a little bit. There's this great series of books called the 33 and a Third book.
You mentioned it. I haven't read it, but yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's 100 some books out there. Every book tackles an album. Some books are like exercises in the person trying to be poetic and creative, and they're terrible. Some of the books simply like deliver the information you want to know about the record. And so I think for Hendrix, they did Axis is Love. And the person writes a thing about Hendrix that like Hendrix like you're talking, Jim, about the way Hendrix does guitar, you know, just touching a string and making it music, right? But he understood feedback, you know. Like there's this old, I'm going to go off a tangent on a stupid tangent, but there's like this rudimentary cat intelligence test, right? Which is you hold your cat up, or your dog, I think, up to a mirror and you see what they do, right? If they go like this, they're not very smart, right? If they look at their reflection for a second and then look away, they're a little bit smarter. And if they study their reflection, they're pretty goddamn smart. I had a cat that actually used the mirror to look at me. It looked at me in my mirror, like it was over here, and it meowed. And then I was like, "What the fuck?" And then I looked, and it had seen me in the mirror, and was using it, right? So
yes, I had a cat that did the same thing. I had a cat real quickly. When I was on the bed reading, there was a mirror on my door, a full-length mirror on the door, and my cat would sit on the bathroom sink and look at me in the mirror, like in bed. Like I would look in the mirror and see that like she was watching me like from the bathroom. So I always thought that I was very impressed. Yeah.
My cat actually got a thing of lipstick and wrote red rum on the mirror.
Which that's the smartest. And
I was like,
smart.
dumb, you spelled it backwards. No, dumb cat.
You can see it.
Wow.
It's crazy.
So I love it. Gary, we did top 5. That counts.
We did a top 5.
The way Hendrix uses feedback is the way my cat looked at me through the mirror. He knew that by positioning his body in a different place on stage, it would make the feedback ripple out differently through the auditorium. He was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. That's a good end. So what is your Freely story?
You really want me to tell it? You really want me to tell it?
Oh, I don't know. Is it? I mean, if you think it's worthy.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be worthy. It might.
I don't know. I mean, you met a famous person. I'm curious.
I met a famous person. Okay, so this was at Monsterpalooza, and so I had brought. So I collect records. One of the few records I have from my childhood is right over there. It is the Ace Frehley Kiss solo record, and the Kiss solo records all came with a individual person poster that interlocked, so you could form a mega poster with all 4 Kiss members. So I have the Ace Frehley one. I had said, I'm going to bring this to Monsterpalooza, right? So I do that. I'm looking at the cost of the signatures, and it basically says like small item, I don't know, let's just say, I can't remember what the prices were. It was a different time, right? Small item, $30, large item, $50, enormous item like guitar, $120, right? So I walk in the line and I'm like, here's what I want to have signed. And I'm like, this is like a guitar. It's $120. And I was like, I'm not paying $120 to get this signed. It's just a poster. So they're like, well, that's the price. I'm like, well, I'm leaving. So I left. So I go outside. I walk out. You know, like Monsterpalooza was in a hotel at the time. I call up my wife. I'm like, oh man, this Ace Frehley thing didn't work out, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking, and I look back at the exit that I just came out, and Ace Frehley's manager, the one that was negotiating price, comes out. He's like, did anybody here want a poster signed? And I'm like, yeah, I did. He's like, we'll give it to you for the lesser price. I'm like, let's go. I was like, babe, I gotta go. Ace Frehley signing my shit, right? So you walk in, and it's just a small conference room, and there's like a partition. And so you're waiting to get the thing signed, and you go in, and then you kind of go around the petition. So I go around the petition, and Ace Frehley is there, just kind of like, I mean, picture like sunglasses, just kind of sitting there glazed, right?
Yeah.
And his handler, I mean, an enormous gentleman, right? Like Stone Cold Steve Austin is there. And I'm wearing a Mothra shirt, right? So, because it's Monsterpalooza, right? So I walk up, and the handler or the bodyguard says like, you know, what do you have? And I'm like, I have this. So I put out the poster. He's like, oh man, this is awesome. You know, you're the only person I've ever seen bring this. And I'm like, I can't believe that, man. Like it's Ace Frehley's poster from his solo record. They're like, you know, you'd never believe it. Ace hasn't said a fucking word. Ace is like Weekend at Bernie's right now, right? Yeah. Like I'm not sure
all he can do just to be there, right?
I'm not sure he's alive, right? And then and so the guy, the bodyguard proceeds to have a conversation with me for a minute, but Ace is just kind of, you know, just there. And at one point, I guess the bodyguard is talking. We're in mid conversation, and Ace just goes, and the bodyguard's like, he really likes your shirt. That was it. And then he ended up like putting his hand over. That's my Ace Frehley story. That's a word to me. He just laughed, and then his bodyguard had to translate what he had said in that.
Right. Right.
Anyway.
So he was actually like in the moment Stone. Like he was absolutely just like a million miles away.
He had to be. Anyone who's familiar with his history or his autobiography, the man partied with John Belushi. So yeah,
that's all you need to know. Yeah,
that seems very in character if that was the case, right? And again, the guy had glasses that you couldn't see through, like total sunglasses indoors.
Well, Keith, you, Scott, and I will have to have a Kiss episode on Gary's show.
Yeah, you will. You will. There's got to be some sort of top 5 Kiss topic we can do, because we have the 3 super fans. Something good's got to come out of that.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, even something good comes out of earthquakes once in a while. So, you know,
most of my knowledge of Kiss is like when Gene Simmons goes on Howard Stern, or the sci-fi classic Runaway with Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons. Like I say that a little weedy, but it actually is super entertaining. I thought, but Gene Simmons is like the whole robot scientist. Like it's fantastic.
Meets the Phantom of the Park. Go look that up.
What's that?
Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. You need to watch that.
What is that? Oh wait, no, I think you sent me that.
It's a
was that yes.
TV movie. Yeah.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, I have not.
They actually made a Kiss Scooby-Doo special from about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh yeah.
It's excellent. It is excellent. It is full of Kiss is totally poking fun at themselves. It's quite good. They had re-recorded a lot of their songs just for that Scooby-Doo special. Like it was quite good.
How are they making fun of themselves? Are they like selling merch the whole time, or what?
Yeah, they're selling merch the whole time. Like there's one point where the guy, like the famous band manager, is there, and there are a bunch of gags throughout where somebody will do something. He's like, I have a thing for that. Look, it's the Kiss toilet. Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so
right.
they definitely take shots.
There's a guy, the facilities guy at my work. Keith, I've probably told you this off air or on the podcast, but there's the facility guys at my work is Kiss super fan. He's gone on all the Kiss cruises for the past X number of years. He has a wall in his office of just pictures with the band. Because every Kiss cruise you can probably pay, I'm assuming, to like get a picture with the band. And every year he does it. So it's just him with the whole band in their costume. He's got all the weird merch, all the toys. He's got bobbleheads. His office looks like a
Kiss is the only band to replace 2 of their original members with like other guys who are like now they're the new guys that are the old guys. So.
Yeah, it's like the Jeffersons when like Lionel was just a different person and nobody cared.
Exactly. Imagine like here's the new Ringo.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Don't worry about old Ringo. Don't worry about it.
But, all right, Gary, I'm going to go.
Okay, yeah, we're approaching 2 hours.
Left.
This was a good show, and it was good to hang out with you guys.
And you know what? I just realized 5 pages left, and we did a top 5.
Whoa.
Top 5 pages Gary has left.
Top 5
Page 57, page 58.
Yeah, 58, 59.
Page 60,
right.
and then 59. Yeah, 59 is actually the most important.
Keith, very nice meeting you, Keith.
Same, man.
Keep it up.
Yes, it was good to get you guys together. Thank you
thanks
both
for having me, Gary. Yeah,
for
thanks
dropping in. Yeah, I enjoyed it very much.
Right.
I'm glad it wasn't just me talking at the camera. I wouldn't have gone this long if it was.
All right, Gary, I'm going to let you go. Good luck, and I'll talk with you soon. And Keith, see you later.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm gonna hop off as well, man. You're ending it, right, Gary?
Pretty soon. I was just gonna talk about the next stream is probably gonna be Sunday, because Saturday I will be at the Arizona Comic Book Arts Festival, and that is the whole day. I won't have time to stream. So a week from, well, not even a week. It's like 4 days from now, 5 days from now. Who knows? I've had a beer. But anyway, Sunday will be the next live stream, and hopefully I'll be able to report that I have 4 pages left. But we'll see. I don't know. I just started the 5th page yesterday, so we'll see. But anything you'd like to promote? Anything you'd like to pitch? Anything? I
mean, listen to Making Comics if you can. I got a website. It's my name, with an R, KeithRFoster.com.
Yes.
I do Kanoja, which is giant monsters meet H.P. Lovecraft. I also write 3 Protectors, which is Kung Fu in Space. And I have a horror book coming out in a couple months as well called Animals. So, yeah, man, plenty of stuff. If any of that tickles your fancy, then check it out.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming by.
Thank you.
And then I think the topic next week, you just made me think of this. Keith is the master of the elevator pitch. Like, I don't know how, if you're just good at it or the topics you pick are natural for it or both, but you have very good one sentence, like this is what the book is, that's enticing and interesting. I need to polish mine. And I think I wanted to talk next week about branding DvsM, pitching DvsM. I think I'll be coming off of a Comic-Con, so I might have new thoughts about it, but that is also something I'd like to be working on in this in-between phase of the rest of the year. So thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, hey, that sounds like an awesome topic.
I think it's necessary. Just like the expanding the audience, it's necessary to fine-tune the pitch. But okay. Sure. See you all later. Thanks for coming by and watching. Thanks for rewatching. See you next week.